Hearing He Linger's earlier words, Yu Qingheng hesitated when he considered asking for an extra bottle. Deep down, he began to suspect that beneath Qinmu's gentle appearance hid a very calculating mind. Soon after, Shi Yunxiang and Yu Qingheng went into the forest together to apply the medicine properly. During their light-hearted conversation, Shi Yunxiang casually complimented Yu Qingheng's well-built figure. Yu Qingheng awkwardly replied that body shape could change over time. Their chat soon shifted to comfortable clothing. When Shi Yunxiang suggested that Qinmu could sew them new outfits since he was also a tailor, Yu Qingheng rejected the idea immediately. "I'm a man," he protested firmly. Not long after, Qinmu gathered everyone together. He took a deep breath and announced the change in plans. "I will accompany the imperial instructor to the southern border," he said. "I'll be responsible for treating his injuries." The path to the next great war had now been decided. "If anyone wishes to withdraw," the imperial instructor said calmly, "now is the time." The disciples hesitated. They all understood that unimaginable danger awaited them ahead. But then the imperial instructor offered something priceless. He promised to personally guide their cultivation throughout the entire journey. For the scholars of the Imperial Academy, this was an honor beyond measure. Instantly, the hesitation vanished. Spirits flared with renewed fire as Monk Yangku stepped forward and declared loudly that they would march toward the southern frontier and confront the rebels head-on. He even joked that the monks among them could spread Buddhist teachings to the rebels and guide them back onto the righteous path. Hearing this, Qinmu silently shook his head. He knew better. These people were still underestimating the road ahead. This was no ordinary journey. It was a road paved with death, one that many might never return from. With a calm voice filled with quiet resolve, Qinmu finally spoke. "From this moment on, our fate lies in the hands of destiny. Everything depends on whether the Eternal Peace Imperial Instructor truly lives up to his title as the strongest beneath the gods." Soon after, dressed in simple robes, the Imperial Instructor of Eternal Peace set out first toward the south. Qinmu and the young scholars followed behind him. Along the way, Qinmu quietly discussed everything that had happened with Shi Yunxiang. More than once, he let out a heavy sigh as the weight of their ordeal pressed upon his heart. Compared to him, Shi Yunxiang, Chen Wanyun, and the others were actually fortunate. Although they had been struck by the power of the Demon King Dutian, they had not been forced to face a terrifying practitioner like Long Jinan head-on, as Qinmu had. Meanwhile, the Qilin dragon, which had once traveled beside them, had landed not far from where the scholars had been stranded earlier. Surrounded by celestial demons, it had unleashed its overwhelming power and held off the assault alone. It was thanks to that mighty creature that Shi Yunxiang and the others had survived. Qinmu was stunned when he witnessed the scene from afar. Beside him, Hu Linger whispered quietly, "That Qilin dragon has been eating and drinking with us all this time, yet now it's busier protecting others instead." Then she smirked mischievously. "You should find a way to make better use of it." Qinmu nodded in agreement. His gaze drifted back toward Heavenly Wave City, now growing smaller in the distance. In his heart, he suspected that Long Jionan and the Dragon King had perished in the battle. There was regret, especially because he had failed to learn rare techniques such as the demonic retreat command of the Dragon Rider sect. The Grand Mountain sect, which had attempted to expel the Demon King Duchin, had instead been completely annihilated, utterly unable to match the Demon King's overwhelming power. Their entire sect had nearly vanished, along with their most precious and irreplaceable spell. Heavenly Wave City itself had suffered devastating damage. Soldiers worked tirelessly to repair the shattered walls, clear the ruins, and rebuild the city along the river. Warships packed with troops continued to surge southward without rest. Within the city, some soldiers were still hunting down the last remnants of the rebels and the celestial demons. They inspected the surviving civilians carefully, comparing their faces to wanted posters of fugitives. And among the chaos, one soldier suddenly found his eyes drawn to a beautiful girl in a flowing green dress. She appeared to be nothing more than a noblewoman, wearing light, elegant makeup and a pair of luxurious red jade earrings that shimmered softly in the sunlight. Yet those earrings were no ordinary jewelry. They were alive. The small red jade at her ear slowly shifted, revealing itself to be a tiny crimson serpent coiled like an ornament. The girl was none other than Long Jionan, moving through the city in perfect disguise. If Qin Mu had been there, he would have recognized her instantly. Blending into the crowd, Long Jionan followed a group of soldiers who were transporting corpses toward a mass grave outside the city. Pretending to search for her father, she approached them with trembling steps and asked where the bodies were being taken. One of the soldiers pointed ahead. All bodies are being dumped into a large pit that hasn't been sealed yet. Long Jionan followed them. At the edge of the enormous pit filled with corpses, she cried out softly, calling for her father with false sorrow in her voice. Suddenly, a weak voice answered from deep within the pile of bodies. "I am shedding my skin, and I'm badly wounded." The soldiers froze in shock. A voice from the mass grave? Before they could react, Long Jionan's lips curved into a faint smile. The tiny red serpent slipped from her ear, dropped onto the ground, and in the blink of an eye, it expanded into a colossal crimson snake. Its fangs opened, releasing a thick cloud of toxic gas. One by one, the soldiers collapsed. Not a single scream escaped. Long Jionan calmly stepped into the pit and dug through the corpses until she uncovered a massive, blood-drenched body. The Dragon King, still alive. "Aya," she called softly and sweetly. The Dragon King snorted coldly. "I am not your true father." Even so, the two had reunited. With a low roar, the Dragon King summoned his surviving red dragon. With the combined power of the dragon and the colossal serpent, they took to the sky and disappeared beyond the city walls. Only then did the soldiers stationed nearby finally react. But it was already far too late to pursue. High above the clouds, the Dragon King asked coldly, "Who caused this destruction?" Long Jionan's eyes darkened. "Only the two of us remain from the Dragon Rider sect," she said quietly. "And the one responsible is Qin Mu." The Dragon King's killing intent surged. "As long as we still live, our sect is not destroyed," he growled. "I swear I will take revenge, and I will personally erase Qin Mu from this world." Unaware of the danger quietly taking shape behind him, Qin Mu continued traveling south with the imperial instructor and the scholars. Along the way, Qin Mu finally voiced a question that had long troubled him. Why does the Five Elements realm feel weaker than the Spirit Embryo realm? The moment he spoke, the other scholars grew alert. They had all felt the same confusion. After advancing into the five elements realm, none of them had experienced any dramatic leap in power. The imperial instructor of eternal peace was visibly stunned. "You truly don't know?" His expression darkened as he shook his head. "The instructors at the Imperial Academy are far too shallow. They failed to teach you the core truth." He then revealed the hidden secret. The five element gods resonate directly with the five heavenly stars. When their energy is properly awakened, one gains true dominion over the primal forces of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. To demonstrate, the instructor raised his hand. The scholars suddenly found themselves walking across flowing water as if on solid ground, flying through blazing clouds of fire, floating above rising mountains of earth. One by one, the pure forces of the five elements manifested before their eyes. The scholars were utterly mesmerized. Yet, when the demonstration ended, the instructor stared at their blank faces in disappointment. "Even after I've explained it this clearly, you still don't understand?" He let out a long sigh. "This is the most foolish generation I've ever taught." The words struck like a hammer. Chen Wan-yun and the others felt deeply wounded. Qin Mu, however, did not believe they lacked intelligence. In his heart, he knew the truth. It was not that the scholars were slow. It was that the imperial instructor of eternal peace was simply too terrifyingly brilliant. A once-in-5 centuries genius. A being who grasped principles instantly, absorbed logic from the faintest hint, and required no guidance where others needed years. Compared to such a monster of talent, anyone would seem foolish. Disguised as a noblewoman with elegant makeup and a calm, graceful presence, Long Jinan moved quietly through the chaos. A delicate red jade earring hung from her ear, shimmering softly. Yet what appeared to be jewelry was no decoration at all. It was a living crimson serpent, coiled and waiting. If Qin Mu had been there, he would have recognized her instantly. Long Jionan followed the imperial soldiers as they transported corpses to a massive burial pit outside the city. Pretending to search for her father's body, she questioned the soldiers with trembling urgency. One of them pointed ahead, explaining that all bodies were dumped into a single large pit that had not yet been sealed. She followed them. Standing at the edge of the pit, she called out weakly, pretending to cry in despair. Then, a faint voice answered from beneath the pile of corpses. It said that it was shedding its skin and gravely wounded. The soldiers froze in shock. Their hands instantly moved to their weapons. At that moment, a faint smile curved Long Jian's lips. The tiny red serpent slid down from her ear, hit the ground, and in an instant transformed into a massive, monstrous snake. Thick, poisonous gas erupted outward like a rolling cloud. One by one, the soldiers fell. Long Jionan descended into the pit and uncovered the body of the Dragon King, who was still alive. She called him father with soft affection, but he only snorted coldly and corrected her. She was not his biological daughter. Still, they had survived together. The Dragon King summoned his own red dragon companion, which had also endured the slaughter. With the combined power of the giant serpent and the red dragon, they soared into the sky and escaped the ruined city. By the time new troops arrived, it was already too late. High above the clouds, the Dragon King demanded to know who had caused their destruction. Long Jianan answered without hesitation. Only the two of them remained from the dragon-riding sect, and Qin was responsible for everything. The Dragon King's eyes burned with hatred. "As long as we live," he said, "our sect has not fallen. I will crush Qin with my own hands." Meanwhile, Qin and his group continued their journey south under the guidance of the Imperial Grandmaster. During their travels, Qin raised a bold question. He felt that the Five Elements realm seemed weak compared to the Spirit Embryo realm. His question immediately caught the attention of every scholar in the group. Many of them had sensed the same problem. They felt no dramatic improvement after entering the Five Elements realm. The Imperial Grandmaster was visibly shocked. He criticized the academy instructors for being too shallow, accusing them of failing to teach the true essence of cultivation. He then revealed the truth. The five elemental powers do not merely come from internal energy alone. They resonate directly with five celestial stars in the heavens. When properly awakened, one can command the true forces of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. To demonstrate, the Grandmaster activated each power one by one. They walked across flowing water. They soared upon blazing clouds of fire. They hovered above rising earth and shifting stone. The scholars were utterly stunned. Yet, when he looked at their confused expressions, the Grandmaster sighed in disappointment. He even declared that this was the most foolish generation he had ever taught. Chen Wanyun and the others felt deeply shaken. Qin, however, did not blame them. Instead, he realized the truth. The Grandmaster was simply too much of a genius. A figure born only once in several centuries, someone who could grasp the laws of heaven by instinct alone. Where others required years of study, he needed only the faintest hint. For such a man, complexity was effortless. The Grandmaster continued his lesson. He explained that a green dragon's vital energy did not mean it belonged to the wood element simply because of its color. The green dragon he had once encountered wielded wind, lightning, fire, and water at the same time. To judge elements by appearance alone, he said coldly, is ignorance. This revelation shocked everyone. Qin suddenly remembered the vital energy technique used by Matua and realized that it indeed contained no wood element at all, only wind and lightning. He was stunned by how deeply mistaken he had been all this time and felt immeasurable gratitude for being corrected. The Grandmaster then drew two triangles in the air. He explained that a small error in the early stage of cultivation would become a massive gap in the future. If one's five elements foundation was weak, every realm afterward would suffer. Two cultivators at the same level today could become worlds apart in the future, all because of their early foundation. The demonstration struck everyone to the core. At that moment, Shi Yunxiang, sharp and fearless, asked about the Grandmaster's own lineage and the true scope of his understanding. The Grandmaster lifted his hand and drew a single, razor-sharp line across the sky. It meant one thing. No one stood beside him. He explained that while most cultivators stacked 7 realms in parallel paths, his realms were stacked vertically, compressing power into a far denser and more terrifying force. He then recommended several elite cultivation techniques recorded in the Heavenly Archive Pavilion, once practiced by legendary figures such as Elder Rusuan, Monk Yuan Kong, Duke Wei, and the Heavenly Strategy General, all titans who had stepped into the Divine Bridge realm. The students immediately committed every name to memory. Chen Wanyun changed his original plan. Instead of rushing to break into the Six Directions realm, he chose to reinforce his foundation first. Qin Mu also fell into deep thought. He recalled several techniques from the Heavenly Demon's Sacred Codex of Grand Education that he had previously ignored. Back then, they seemed ordinary.
恶魔神竟然现世了！恐怕凶多吉少。
降真元炮，众将听令！可以交给你了。